Alright guys, so as I promised, today I'm gonna share my final thoughts on the fifth and final season of Samurai Jack, which ended 48 hours ago at this point. And as we all know, Jack at last did get back to the past with a little help from Ashi. Basically tapping into a bit of her dad's time portal magic on her own. But obviously we all know that since her dad is gone and part of Aku's power was inside Ashi, obviously we all know that Ashi unfortunately had to die once Jack got back to the past. But this is more my thoughts on the season as a whole. Now, obviously, like a lot of people, I am glad that Jack's story finally got the chance to have a conclusion after so long. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, okay? While I am glad that Jack's story got a conclusion, I do think that the way it was handled wasn't necessarily bad, but I feel like Gandhi could have taken a bit more time to actually maybe execute a few things a bit better. Like, for instance, instead of only having the series be about 10 episodes, make it like 26 or 13 episodes, so that way people can actually get invested in this conclusion instead of it just being rushed out in 10 episodes like it unfortunately was. Now, that is not saying that the final season was garbage in any sense of the word. However, I feel like it was a bit rushed. Now, obviously, right from the first episode, it was beautiful how we got to see Jack slowly but surely throughout the 10 episode season basically get back to being the Samurai Jack that basically everybody in the future was hoping was still out there. And it's almost kind of funny because obviously Jack had to make the decision to obviously decide to find his sword again for himself, but it was almost like him and Ashi sort of having, like, I guess you could call it a romantic relationship. It was almost like that was what Jack needed to sort of snap himself out of his almost depression after being basically separated from home for more than 50 years at that point. So I think Gandhi's utilization of Ashi and Jack's relationship, as far as that being what it took to get Jack's mind back in the game, I think in that way the relationship was used at its fullest potential, and that should be applauded. However, I know some people are gonna say that their relationship sort of felt forced, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it was forced, but I think it would have been nicer if Jack's ultimate love interest could have been maybe if they added like an extra samurai in the 5th season, like maybe somebody that Jack had never met, but instead Gandhi decided to go with the traditional and maybe not, let's say, stereotype of having the enemy fall in love with the hero. Now, as far as the animation in the season, that was phenomenal. All 5 seasons across the board, spectacular, 5 stars, well done, everybody. Now, in terms of how I thought the dialogue and everything, as far as the overall arcing story was told, I think it would have been nicer if Jack would have been able to actually have a bit more of a dialogue, even though, because of him sort of basically saying, oh, this is all my fault, there's no hope. I would have personally liked to see Jack be able to sort of actually have the same amount of dialogue that you would expect from any other type of hero in the story, even though I know that was never Gandhi's style or Jack's personality from the get-go. But I guess overall, even though everybody thinks, myself included, that the season was rushed, I guess Gandhi and the team did the best of what they could with what they have. Now, let's get to the overall resolution of the story before I get to my last point here. Now, obviously, we did all get to see Jack return to the past, which in turn means, yes, Gandhi kept his promise, and Jack at last did get to go home. But I think it would have been nicer if they could have drawn the battle out more. Wouldn't it have been cool if we could have actually seen the last battle with Jack and Aku be something more like maybe Goku versus Vegeta, or maybe something along the lines of maybe like what the last duel between Yugi and Pegasus was. Now what I mean by those 2 examples, everybody, is that it would have been nicer if the battle could have been executed on a more grander scale, instead of just being, here we are, it's finally time for me to do what I should have done in the past immediately. But overall, I guess the most important thing is we did get to see Jack go home. Now, obviously, I say the probably the most noticeable change for last, and that is the voice acting. For everybody except Aku, Gandhi and the team completely delivered on it. Everybody was on par, 100%, 5 stars. But I have to address the obvious. Greg Baldwin's portrayal of Aku was, I'd say, about 40% out of a possible 100. Now, I'll get the obvious out of the way, guys. Nobody is ever going to replace Mako as Aku. And I'll even address that. I do think it was kind of moving that in the first couple of seconds of episode 10, that Aku, that they let the original opening of the first 4 seasons play before Aku told everybody, I finally got him. I feel like that was a very respectable homage and tribute to Mako. But I won't say Greg's performance of Aku was bad, although I think Gandhi would possibly could have made, the choice to ultimately recast Aku, so that way everybody wouldn't have had to deal with the disappointment in Greg's performance. But overall, guys, I guess I would give the overall Samurai Jack Season 5 probably a 7.5 out of 10. Mostly just because I think that the execution, if nothing else, could have been handled a bit better. Although, I will say this. Gandhi, Adult Swim, Mike, Paul, Phil, actually, Scott, everybody that came back, everybody that worked on this, thank you. Thank you for listening to the fans and finally giving us the satisfaction to finally see Jack go home. Because, guys, even though we can be as critical to the show's ending as we want to be, wasn't it just nice to finally get to see Jack accomplish his ultimate goal and go home? And despite what all of us may think about how the finale was done, wasn't it just nice to see something like Samurai Jack come back, even though it was just for 2.5 months exactly? I guess I would just like to say, thank you, Gandhi. Thank you, Gandhi. Thank you, Adult Swim. Thank you, Samurai Jack. Thank you, Aku. Thank you, even Scotsman and Ashi. For truly, maybe not the best executed story, but honestly, and I say this from the perspective of a Samurai Jack enthusiast from the first 4 seasons, and I guess you could say at the end of the day, an ultimately satisfied fan. Thank you, Jack, for finally being able to come back into our TV set and entertain us one last time. You have earned your place in one of the best animated shows in history. And who knows, guys, maybe if we all ask Gandhi really nicely, maybe he will decide to give Jack maybe a 6 spin-off series. But I guess from the bottom of my heart, Gandhi and everybody that worked on this, just thank you. Thank you for ending the series on your own terms. And guys, I guess if somebody would ask me, would I recommend somebody to watch the 5th season of Samurai Jack, my answer to that would be yes. But only if you're interested in seeing probably one of the most well thought out endings to a series ever. So, thank you, Gandhi. Thank you, everybody that gave your best on this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, my rating for Samurai Jack Season 5 is a 7 out of 10. But overall, as a fan, I am just satisfied that we got to see Jack come back at all. So again, congratulations, Jack, my friend. Thank you to Gandhi and everybody that worked your ass off on this. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Farewell, Samurai Jack. Thank you for 16 years of magic. And keep on rocking. Yeah.